We'll probably never know how delight became delirium. Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing well. I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon who talks about Sandman the most on YouTube, and you're on my channel. This video is for both you who are fans of the Sandman comics and those who watched the series, remembering that the video will have some spoilers. Okay, let's get to the facts. Have you ever wondered why some of the Endless have black hair and others are redheads? The 7 Endless are children of the night and time, and most of them inherited their mother's black hair, but Destruction and Delirium inherited their father's red hair. The Corinthian is a reference to the American dream of consumption. He has mouths instead of eyes because the American dream consumes everything he sees, and he eats people's eyes because the American dream blinds the people. There is an animated short film called DC Showcase Death, inspired by the story arc, Death: The High Cost of Living. If you are a Sandman fan, despite not being a faithful adaptation of the comic, this animation is simply perfect. Sandman has already recreated the entire universe, using the power of dreams to alter reality. This occurred during the events of Sandman Overture, which precedes the original work. Dream is the only one of the Endless beings who is referred to by other names that go beyond the concept they personify. Some of these names are Morpheus, Oneiros, and Sandman. Even though he has abandoned his kingdom, Destruction is one of the most powerful beings in the Sandman universe, since he has the ability to destroy any being. He is also immune to any type of power, including the powers of his brothers. In most of Death's appearances, he is always wearing a necklace with an ankh, which ironically, is the Egyptian symbol of life. In the Book of Destiny, everything that has ever happened and everything that will happen until the end of the universe is recorded. Destiny knows absolutely everything about everyone. In Sandman 16, Lost Hearts, it is revealed that Desire is afraid of no longer defining the concept she personifies, and becoming something else, just as happened to her sister Delight, who became Delirium. The term Sandman refers to a folkloric figure present in several cultures, known for bringing sleep and pleasant dreams to people, and is often associated with spreading a powder or magic sand in the eyes of children to induce them to sleep, being represented in several films such as Rise of Guardians. According to Destruction, the Endless not only define the concepts they personify, but also the opposite aspect, with death also defining life, dreams also defining reality, and so on, the only exception being Delirium, which defines nothing. In Death: The High Cost of Living, death ironically prevents a young man from dying, convincing him not to commit suicide, and thus saving his life. In Sandman 47, Brief Lives, it is revealed that not even Destiny knows how Delight became Delirium, since what happened to her, apparently somehow, is not written in the Book of Destiny, being to this day one of the great mysteries of Sandman. In Sandman Endless Night, it is revealed that the despair we know is the second despair. The first was similar to the second, but with tattoos on her body, and what happened to her was never revealed. In Sandman 18, A Dream of 1,000 Cats, it is revealed that technically, all living beings with the ability to dream, have access to the power that dreams have to change reality. It is enough for 1,000 beings of the same species to dream about the same thing at the same time, and reality will be altered according to that dream. Death's look was inspired by the American fashion designer, costume designer, and dancer, Cinnamon Hadley, for the character's first appearance in Sandman Chapter 8, Sound of Her Wings. Hadley was an icon of Gothic fashion in the United States. Desire has no defined gender, being both male and female, and always being represented with an extremely beautiful appearance. In Sandman 22, Season of Mists, Sandman explains to Matthew that Lucifer Morningstar is much more powerful than him, being perhaps the most powerful of all beings, since Lucifer is as powerful as his brother Michael Demiurgos, and the two are tied for second place, losing only to his creator, the Presence. The vast majority of Sandman covers are actually photographs of real structures without any computer editing. Lucifer Morningstar's original look was inspired by the singer, songwriter, and actor David Bowie. The clothes Destiny wears look very similar to the clothes that, by stereotype, Death should wear, which is why Destiny is often mistaken for her. As contradictory as it may seem, Destruction does not like to destroy. In fact, he is interested in creative hobbies such as drawing and painting, although he does not seem to have any talent for them. Destiny is the oldest of the Endless, followed by Dream and Death respectively. In his solo comic, after meeting Destiny, Lucifer proposes a challenge, and says that he will do something that is not written in Destiny's book, and then he proves it by tearing out several pages of the book and burning them, and making everyone there travel through time for a brief moment. The demon Mazikeen, who originally appears in Sandman 22, is one of the main characters in Lucifer's solo series, also on Netflix. Death meets all mortals twice, when they are born, and when they eventually die. DC had 2 previous versions of Sandman, but Neil Gaiman preferred to create a character with a completely new mythology, preserving only the name. The previous Sandman appears in Chapter 12, Playing House, and ironically tells Dream that he is the real Sandman. In Sandman Endless Night, we are introduced to Dream's first love interest, a mortal named Kalala, and she manipulates a green power called Grow, which has the characteristics of creating things, which indicates that it may have originated the power that the Green Lanterns use. Sandman's look was inspired by the singer, songwriter, and guitarist of the band The Cure, Robert Smith. When Desire reveals herself at the end of Sandman Overture, she is wearing the same outfit as when she talks to Dream in Lost Hearts. In the realm of dreams, there is a library called the Library of Never Finished Books. Every time someone has an idea for a book, but does not publish it, it becomes part of the collection of this library. Dave McKean, a friend of Neil Gaiman, was responsible for the iconic Sandman covers, but he was so dedicated that DC Comics fired him from the Sandman project because the publisher wanted him to finish Batman Arkham Asylum, but he continued to work on the Sandman covers unofficially. Dream changes his appearance depending on his observer, even if the observer is an animal, and we can see him in the form of a cat in the chapter A Dream of a Thousand Cats. Destiny is the only one of the Endless characters that was not created by Neil Gaiman. He first appeared in the magazine Weird Mystery Tales in the 70s. When his friend Hob Gatling asks Sandman about his birthday, he replies that he doesn't have birthdays, because he would have to be born to do so. In Sandman 16 Lost Hearts, it is revealed that Matthew the Crow was once a human who died, but chose to live in the dream world, because according to Matthew, his human life was not that great. Death is the only one of the Endless Seven who will survive the end of this universe, only then will her work be complete. The Justice League character Martian Manhunter appears in the story, and he sees Sandman as an ancient Martian god and worships him. This happens in Sandman 5, Passengers. In Sandman Overture, we are introduced to a character named Glory, and her look is completely inspired by the science fiction author Isaac Asimov. When he goes to hell to retrieve his helmet from a demon, Sandman is guided through Lucifer's castle by none other than Etrigan, a famous character in DC's magical universe. When Sandman is captured and imprisoned, he comes across an occult group called the Order of Ancient Mysteries, and its leader, Roderick Burgess, is inspired by figures such as Aleister Crowley, a well-known real-life occultist, and by legends about the search for immortality through magical rituals. The mark or tattoo that Death has on one of his eyes is called the Eye of Horus, and its main meanings are power, protection, and health. The Constantine family appears more than once in Sandman. John Constantine helps Sandman in Chapter 3, Dream a Little Dream of Me, and his ancestor Johanna Constantine appears in Chapter 13, Men of Good Fortune. Destiny is the only one of the Endless who does not cast a shadow. He likes to walk in his garden, but his steps do not leave footprints. In the Sandman universe, it is explained that gods appear in dreams, when humans begin to believe in their existence, and this is thanks to the power of dreams to alter reality. Most of the Sandman characters have unique balloons with personalized letters, except for Death, who has a common balloon like any other character. This represents her casual way of expressing herself, since she is the Endless who spends the most time with humans. The Lucifer series takes place right after the Season of Mist's arc, where Lucifer feels tired of being the ruler of hell, and throws all the demons out, and goes to live his life, leaving the key to hell to Sandman. In Action Comics 894, Death meets Lex Luthor, who apparently died, and they have a very interesting conversation about life and existentialism. Desire's look that we know was inspired by the works of American artist and illustrator Patrick Nagel, and also by British singer and songwriter Annie Lennox. As incredible as it may seem, Sandman was not a work that intended to be a great success. At the time, Neil Gaiman was working on Black Orchid, and the idea was that Sandman would be a secondary thing, which would only serve to introduce a British author to the American public. Although Black Orchid is a cool work with very beautiful art, it was easily surpassed by Sandman, which became a phenomenon. Delirium has the ability to return to delight if necessary. In Brief Lives, she returns to delight for a brief moment to help her brother Dream, but she cannot stay that way for long, because according to her, it is very painful. As contradictory as it may seem, Destiny also defines free will, because according to him, determinism and free will coexist. Among the Endless, the closest siblings are Death and Dream. They are the only ones who seem to have a real brother-sister relationship. Death is like an older sister who takes care of and advises Dream. Destiny is the tallest of the Endless in human eyes, and he is possibly also blind. but that is not a problem for him. Dream is lonely and interacts little with the people he likes, even with his sister Death, who is very close to him, but ironically he is the only one of the Endless in the entire work who has made a sincere friendship and declared himself a friend of a mortal. In Sandman Endless Night, we discover that the stars are conscious beings, and our sun appears, at the time, to be represented by a young and inexperienced star, which does not yet have living beings on the planets that orbit it. The brothers Loki and Thor appear in the Season of Mist's arc, as well as their father, Odin, but they are very different versions from what we are used to, with Thor being a brute so muscular that his body ends up being disproportionate. Many people theorize that Delight's change to delirium is related to Lucifer Morningstar, but this theory doesn't make sense, since Lucifer and delirium have already met, and Lucifer's presence didn't cause her any discomfort or activate any triggers. At the end of Sandman Overture, we discover that Desire, like the other Endless, lost their memories of what happened in that event. This was caused by a side effect of the recreation of the universe. Dream is the only one who still remembers. In all her millennia of existence, Despair has only been kissed once. The kiss was given on her face by her brother Destruction. Each Endless has a characteristic smell. In the prologue of Season of Mists, it is mentioned that Desire smells like peaches, Destiny smells like a dusty library, and Delirium smells like sweat, sour wine, and old leather. In Sandman Endless Night, we see the only time so far in which Delirium is still Delight, and she is portrayed as being a very young child. Once every 100 years, Death incarnates as a human for a day, and then dies at the end of that day. She does this to better understand her purpose. In Sandman Overture, we can see the evil god who invaded the dream realm, and who was later defeated by Sandman, and his skull was used to build his helmet, which he wears to this day. Delirium was inspired by American singer, songwriter, and pianist Tori Amos, who is a personal friend of Neil Gaiman. She is known for her emotionally intense music and lyrics that explore themes such as sexuality, religion, and personal tragedies. Demons and creatures of the night also have the ability to dream, as proven in Sandman 4, A Hope in Hell. In Sandman Endless Night, Death makes it clear that there is no way to escape her. All beings will sooner or later come to her and die, and this is as inevitable as the end of the universe. In Sandman Overture, Dream never learns the identity of the cat that helps him save the universe. This cat was Desire. The thicker line in Destruction's speech bubble serves to represent the tone of his voice, which is quite deep. Destruction once had a relationship with Ishtar, a Mesopotamian goddess, and according to her, Destruction is the only good man she has ever met. They separated millennia ago, but she still loves him. The style of Desire's speech bubbles is inspired by the lettering found in Art Nouveau works. Delirium is the youngest of the Endless, and this frustrates her, since she is always treated like a child, even though she is older than most of the planets that exist. Death has already made an appearance in Captain Atom's magazine. In the story, it is implied that Death is the protagonist's love interest. This story made Neil Gaiman very angry, to the point that he rewrote the rules of the contract with DC, giving him total power over the appearances of the characters he created. Sandman is afraid of Lucifer. This was proven in Sandman Season of Mists, when the King of Hell asks Sandman if he is afraid, and the Lord of Dreams answers yes. At no point in Sandman is it explained why Barnabas is a talking dog. Many theorize that, like Matthew the Crow, he was originally a human. Issue 19 of Sandman, titled A Midsummer Night's Dream, in which the characters watch a Shakespeare play, was the first comic to be recognized on the prestigious New York Times bestseller list. In the spin-off Destiny, A Chronicle of Deaths Foretold, Destiny is mistaken for a priest by the character Joanne, who then thinks he is Death, but Destiny explains that he is neither. In the story Dream of a Thousand Cats, Neil Gaiman did not want to put conventional speech bubbles on the cats, because it would seem that the cats spoke literally, like humans, and if they were thought bubbles, it would seem that the cats were telepathic. The solution was to create a unique type of speech bubble for them, which combines both characteristics. The moon-headed character who appears on the cover of Sandman 39 is possibly one of the versions of Sandman who appears in Sandman Overture. In Season of Mists, when Sandman asks Lucifer what he will do with his life after leaving Hell, Lucifer replies that among other things, he wants to learn to play the piano. Later, we see him playing the piano in both the comics and the TV series, and apparently he plays very well. Destruction is the only one of the Endless who does not dress exotically or extravagantly. He is usually seen in a t-shirt and jeans, maintaining the typical look of an ordinary human. Desire and Despair are twins, although they have completely different appearances. As random as it may seem, Darkseid can be seen in Sandman 72, sitting next to Rose Walker and her brother Jed. Death is the favorite endless of most fans, and ironically, Sandman, despite being a very interesting character, is considered by most fans to be the most boring. We don't know anything about how Delight became Delirium, but in Sandman Overture it is said that it happened millennia ago, when the universe was still young. In Death, the high cost of living, Death has her ankh necklace stolen, so she simply buys another one from a street vendor, saying that the value of things is not in the physical material, but in what they represent to us. In Sandman Endless Night, Delirium and Destruction are shown traveling together, and apparently Destruction is the closest brother, and the one who understands Delirium's feelings the most. After its publication, Sandman was one of the main reasons for the creation of Vertigo, DC's adult imprint, which later became very well known for other stories such as Watchmen and V for Vendetta. In Men of Good Fortune, Hob Gatling tells Sandman that during his centuries of life, he eventually met other people who also did not die, and he mentions Jason Blood and Mad Hetty. In Sandman 5, Passengers, Scarecrow appears in the Arkham Asylum after John Dee escapes. It was later revealed by the author that the Joker was originally supposed to be in that scene, but the Joker could not be used due to continuity issues. In Sandman 71, Clark Kent and Batman appear alongside Martian Manhunter, and Clark talks about strange dreams he had, including one in which he lives a version of his life that is a TV show. There is a solo comic book for the character Mervyn, in which he lives secret adventures as a secret agent, in the style of James Bond. DC Comics constantly asked to add Justice League characters to Sandman, but the author never liked this idea, always preferring to keep his universe separate from the main DC universe. John Dee, who faces Sandman at the end of the Sound and Fury chapter, is also one of the villains in the Justice League cartoons, but with a look a little more focused on the supervillain aesthetic. All Sandman covers are traditionally done by Dave McKean, but when Sandman Overture was done, the artist in charge really wanted to do the covers, so in order not to break tradition, the solution found was to do 2 variant covers for each issue, one done by him and one done by Dave McKean. Sandman was the first DC project to use the method of changing artists for new story arcs. Later this began to be used in other publications to diversify the art and introduce new artists. At the conclusion of Sandman, many of the characters we met throughout the different stories return as special guests in the final arc. Sandman's author, Neil Gaiman, did not believe that his publication would be successful. His idea was to make it until at least issue 12, before being cancelled, but Sandman lasted 75 issues. Once asked about what Sandman is at its core, Neil Gaiman answered that it is about the Lord of Dreams learning to change or die, and in the end he makes his decision. And you, what did you think of the curiosities? Did you know them all? Leave a comment, and if you liked the video, subscribe to follow the next content. Until next time my people, demonic hugs.